China is reshaping the very fabric of global power, and it's all happening at the world's busiest ports. Think of it as a game of monopoly. China's not just buying properties anymore, they're buying influence, one port at a time. Now here's where it gets interesting. This expansion represents a dramatic departure from China's historical focus on regional concerns, positioning Beijing as a potential challenger to established powers in the global arena. It's rather like watching your quiet neighbor suddenly start throwing parties every weekend. You begin to wonder what they're really up to. Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. Now, China's emergence as a global economic powerhouse has fundamentally reshaped international maritime dynamics and strategic competition. As the world's largest trading nation conducting 95% of its international trade through sea lanes, China has systematically leveraged its economic might to establish a growing network of strategic ports and bases worldwide. Unlike the United States of America, which maintains over 128 overseas military bases across 51 countries with nearly 170,000 deployed personnel at an annual cost of $30 to $50 billion, China's approach combines commercial port investments with selective military installations. The Americans have gone for the traditional approach. Think of it as the military equivalent of a full English breakfast, hearty, obvious, and everywhere you look. China, meanwhile, has opted for something more like dim sum, smaller portions but far more sophisticated, and you're not entirely sure what you're eating until it's too late. Enter President Xi Jinping in 2013 with what might be the most ambitious infrastructure project since the Romans decided to build roads everywhere, the Belt and Road Initiative, or as we like to call it, Xi's global shopping spree. President Xi Jinping's launch of the Belt and Road Initiative in 2013 marked a pivotal moment in China's global strategy. The accompanying 21st Century Maritime Silk Road, connecting China to Europe and the Arctic Ocean via the South China Sea and Indian Ocean, has supercharged China's overseas port investment activities. This initiative has yielded remarkable results. As of September 2023, China had signed 70 bilateral and regional shipping agreements with 66 countries and regions, creating shipping routes and service networks covering major countries and regions worldwide. Shanghai has retained its position as the world's busiest container port for 13 consecutive years. That's longer than some governments have stayed in power. Meanwhile, several Chinese ports rank amongst the most connected. Now let's talk about Djibouti, a country most people couldn't find on a map if their lives depended on it, but which has become absolutely crucial to China's global strategy. China's most significant overseas military installation is located at Djibouti's Doraleh port. Established in 2017 to support the PLA's naval anti-piracy missions in the Gulf of Aden. These operations have continued non-stop since 2008, providing China with legitimate justification for maintaining a permanent military presence in this strategically vital location. US intelligence agencies have identified numerous locations where China is reportedly considering establishing military facilities. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence's annual assessment highlighted China's pursuit of overseas military installations and access agreements in an attempt to project power and protect China's interests abroad. The potential locations read like a world traveler's bucket list: Burma or Myanmar, Cuba, Equatorial Guinea, Pakistan, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, Tajikistan, Tanzania, and the United Arab Emirates. A comprehensive study by the RAND Corporation ranked over 100 potential candidates based on desirability and feasibility. The study identified Bangladesh, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Pakistan as most likely to meet Beijing's requirements for future military facilities. Analysis by the Center for Strategic and International Studies concluded that China is most likely operating covert listening stations at 4 sites in Cuba, including 3 near Havana and 1 located just 64 kilometers west of US Naval Station Guantanamo Bay. These facilities would provide China with unprecedented intelligence gathering capabilities in America's strategic backyard, which must be keeping quite a few people in Washington, D.C. awake at night. Looking ahead, China's pursuit of overseas military installations faces similar challenges to those confronted by established powers. Host nations retain ultimate sovereignty over their territory and can restrict or revoke access agreements, particularly following government changes. It's like being a tenant. No matter how much you've invested in the property, the landlord can still ask you to leave. In other words, the world is about to become a much more interesting place, though whether that's good or bad news rather depends on where you're sitting. One thing's for certain, the age of simple geopolitics is well and truly over.